All right, welcome back, guys. Now let's quickly talk about modules in Node.js. So what is a module? Well, modules are blocks of encapsulated code that can communicate or that we use in our applications. And most times, modules are separated into different files. So technically, we can say that a module is a single file that contains a block of code, but it can also be a collection of multiple files. So let's just get into the practical aspect, right? So if I come to this my file structure here and I create another file, I'll call it person.js, like so. And inside of this file, I'll create two variables. So I'll say const. The first one is going to be person, and that's going to be equal to just my name. So here I'll just say Zeno, and then I'll create another one. This one I'll call it people, so plural, and I'm going to make it an array. So just make it an array, and my name is going to be first, then I'm just going to have John, and lastly I'm going to have another name, which so that I don't need to put a comma there, and I'll just say Kome. That's the last name, like so. So I have an array of 3 names. Yeah, great. Now I'll take this a step further by doing a console.log. Let me close this file structure up. I'll do a console.log of the person and the people, like so. Of course, I'll save that now and everything should just be fine. Now, what if I wanted to use this file person.js inside of my app.js? Well, I would need to actually find a way to export this file or whatever is written in this file, the block of code, into app.js. And that's where modules come in. So that point where I'm separating my code into a different file, this person.js now can be referred to as a module in Node.js. Now there are two common ways for us to separate and import our code from one file to another. The first one is the ES module, and ES in this case stands for ECMAScript. So let me just comment this out, and then I'm also going to comment this out. Then I'll bring this down. Let me add another comment here and just separate it. All right, so the default in Node.js for importing different modules to a particular file is the common JS module. I said there are two main ways. So the first one is the common JS, and the next one is the ES modules. So ES modules, while the first is the common JS. So in Node.js, what is the default is the common JS module. You can actually set it to have ES module, but first let's talk about common JS module. Or since I expect that you're coming from a React background, let me actually just show you what the ES module looks like. So if I just bring in a React app here, yeah, so this is a React app and I'm in my app.js. You notice something here. I created a variable, I called that variable URL, and I just did export. So I exported it. Now what this means is that this variable can be accessed or can be imported from other files, just like what we did here. So here I imported task list from the place where task list is located, the task list components. So essentially what we have here is the ES modules setup. That's what we have in this React application. But like I said, in Node.js, the default is the common JS module. So let me show you what the common JS module looks like. So for me to use this person.js in the app, I need to say const, and I'll just give it a name. It can actually be anything you want. It can be ABC, or it can be data, whatever it is you want. So I'll just make it ABC, for example. So ABC, and then I'm going to set it to be equal to, I'll use the keyword require. Now inside of this require, I'll open quotes, and then I'll specify the location of this person.js file. So where is it located? Well, it's located in the same folder, so ./person. Okay, and you don't need to add the .js, so just say ./ and then the name of the JavaScript file. That's it. So now what do you think is going to happen if I save this file? Well, before I save it, let me open up my terminal, right? So I have my terminal open, and then I'll go ahead and save this file. Now in my terminal, I'm going to now run this file. So I'll just come here and say node and I want to run the app. So I'll hit enter. Watch what happens. Voila. So you see here in the terminal, we have the console.log first of the name Zeno, and then we also have the array. So if you come to this person.js, you realize that that's exactly what we did. We logged the person and the people, and that's what we have here, even though it's in a different file. So that's how we break down our application into smaller bits. And in programming, that is called separation of concerns. You're going to learn all about that in the next project. Now, but what if I wanted to export just the person, right? How am I going to do that? I don't want to log them directly from here. So let me actually just delete this guy. And the way I'm going to export just the person is I'll just say I'll say person. So let me undo that. Yeah. So I'll come down here and I'll say module dot exports. So remember, this export is actually plural. There's an S at the back, but the module is just module, not modules. And then I'm going to set that to be equal to person. That's all I need to be able to use this person in another file. So if I save that here and then I come here, so now this ABC is pointing to this person that I exported here. Okay, now I can now come down here and do a console.log of ABC. Remember, this variable name can be anything you want. It can be person, it can be anything at all. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then if I come down here and run my app one more time like so, you'll see here that I just have the Zeno. Now there's another thing that comes to mind. What if I wanted to also export people? How do I do that? Well, all I need to do is I need to come down. I'll just duplicate this and comment the first one out. So I'll say module.export, and instead of just pointing to person, I'm going to delete this and open an object. Remember, an object has a property and a value. So for the first one, I can just say person like so, and that's the property name, and I'll set the value to the person variable. All right, I'll add a comma here, and I'll do the same for the people. So here I'm just going to edit both of them together and say people. All right, so but in JavaScript, when you have the property name and the property value as the same word, in year 6 we can actually just remove the value altogether. Okay, so let me just do that. Escape. Aha. So I can just say person and people, and JavaScript knows that I'm referring to person as both the name and the value, and then I'll go ahead and save. So I've successfully exported these two guys here. So how am I going to access it here? Well, I can say abc dot person. Okay, so and then abc dot people. Okay, because it's an object. If I go ahead and save that and then I run this guy here, hit enter, then you see that we now have the person and the people. But a better way to do this is to actually destructure it right from this place where we are requiring the module. So I can just come here, instead of saying ABC, I can destructure it and bring out the two properties, which is the person and the people. All right, so now I don't need to then say ABC whatever. I just delete that and I have person and people. Save that, and I'll come here, run. Let me clear this because I think it's getting cluttered. All right, and then I'll run node app, hit enter, and then you see we have the person and the people. So that's how creating modules and exporting and using them in Node.js actually works. And remember, in Node.js the default is the common JS, and just stick to the default. There's a way you can change it to ECMAScript, but I just recommend you just stick to the default, which is what I just showed you here. All right, so thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one.